Testing my Yaesu FTM-400XDE. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So next on my blender for checking is my Yaesu FTM-400. Now I removed it from the car because it hasn't really been used recently because I've only got half an antenna on the car, and I've actually just come back up from the car because I've just had the tyres changed on the car park. So that's quite useful that they were able to come to me and change the tyres in the car park rather than me go to a garage somewhere, considering that they needed doing quite urgently. They were looking a bit sorry for themselves. So I didn't spot that till the other day. But everything's all good. So we've got my FTM-400, control unit, microphone, and we'll power up. And it seems to be working so far. So I'm going to switch on the signal generator, and I'll put this into VFO mode first. We can do that. VFO mode. Okay, I'll use the keypad here. Okay, so 145. I'll just drop the volume down so it might be a bit too loud. So I'm going to check to see if it's receiving as it ought to be. So in the signal generator, 1, 4, 5, 0, 0, 0. I need to add another 0 apparently. There we go. So that seems to be receiving fine. It's creating a bit of desense on 1448, although that's still receiving APRS fine. So I should be able to turn that down. So I need to go to the signal generator there. So we'll just tilt that up a bit so you can see the signal generator there. I'm not sure if you can see the display on that. Probably not. I don't think you can see the display on that, so won't do that. So I'm going to turn it down. Quite sensitive because I'm still hearing that at minus 114 dB. I'll turn that down. Let's get my crib sheet, and minus 114 dB is 0.447 microvolts. And I'm still hearing that. My iGate's desensing it, which is a bit annoying. But that's going to happen, so... So I've set the signal generator to the minimum. I'm no longer hearing that. Right, so I've now turned the signal generator off. So I was hearing that down to about 118, I believe it was. Let's turn that back on. was hearing it a bit better than that, so if I just go back out of there, I'll just turn the squelch to absolute minimum. About 124. Put the squelch back to where I had it. Let's bring that back up again. Back to where it should, where I normally have the signal generator, which is normally at full. So the receiver seems okay. It's still quite sensitive. It's definitely receiving my APRS stuff perfectly fine. No problem at all. It's got a GPS lock in here, which is good. So it seems to be functioning. So I'm going to swap over from the signal generator to a power meter. I'm going to see if it's transmitting all right. There we go. I'll plug that into the cross needle meter because that's the one that's able to tell me where we are with it. Now this dummy load I think is rated to 50 watts. It's the dummy load there, the big heatsink on it. The microphone is plugged in, so I should be able to test that. Very briefly, I'm going to test it. I'm not going to test it for very long. Ooh. Okay, so the PTT's sticking a bit there. Not sure what's causing that. So that was being exhibited on the microphone I was using in the car, the hands-free microphone. So I'm going to turn on a monitor receiver, find out actually whether it's keeping the audio in circuit or not. So I need to put that into the right frequency first. One, two, 1, 2. Okay. Yeah. Wrong frequency. Might help. It's held in the transmitter. Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform test. Yeah. It's, for whatever reason, it's latching the PTT. I'm not 100% sure what's causing that to latch. It's been doing that a while, and I'm not 100% sure what's causing that. So it turns out it's doing it with whatever microphone's plugged into it. It's not an issue with the original microphone like I thought it was, the hands-free one, that is. So now I know there is one fault that's definitely nothing to do with the installation in the car as it was. So I don't 100% know why that's happening. The PTT shouldn't be latching, and I've not seen anything in the instructions for this to allow a PTT to latch on like that. But it's still putting out a healthy amount of power. So I'm going to have to check that's not switched on the yeah, it's now on the high setting, so there we go. It says 40 watts there. We'll take that as read. Low power. Just slightly shy of 5. Medium. Take that as about 15. So I'm not sure why it's latching like that. There must be a setting I've changed somewhere and I've not realised I've changed it. I don't want to do a full factory reset, so I'll have to explore that. So we know it's transmitting, but how far on frequency is it transmitting? There is the question. And for that, I'll put this back onto low power. That dummy load's got a little bit warm now. And then I'll connect the frequency counter, which I'm going to have to get up to do because I can't see where the lead for the frequency counter has gone. So it's kind of buried itself under things by the looks of it. Ah, there it is. So I need to find the red side of that. Because it's just the red side I need. I don't need the black one. Although the black one's supposed to be the ground return. So let's plug that onto there. And low power. So we're okay there. And transmit. So we're on 145000. We're into a dummy load and 145002 apparently. Let's just increase the resolution. The little fan in the back of the radio is kicked in. I say that's good enough. I'd say that was good enough. It's on frequency, on 2 meters. So, time to have a look at 70 centimeters, I think. Oh, wrong button. So I'm going to go back into there, and let's try that. So, we're on low power at the moment. Won't let me transmit there for whatever bizarre reason. Yeah, for whatever reason, it will not let me transmit on 433. Despite the fact that is within our frequency range. So let's have a look. Apparently it won't let me transmit on 433, 450 either. This is interesting. Don't let me transmit on either of those frequencies, despite the fact they are part of our allowed range. Okie dokie. VFO mode. Let's try that way. So I'll put it into memory mode, which I've done. 433.0 is part of the repeater frequency, so it should let me transmit there. And 433, 450 is part of simplex. So it should let me transmit that. 433, 450 is actually that. Now it's let me transmit. Turn the gating time down on that for the minute. So the frequency on 70 sems, 433, 452, we're running at low power here, that's as accurate as I'm getting it. Take that off. So it's still on frequency, it's still okay. It's just this latching PTT issue. I don't know what's actually causing that. Because it was doing that before I removed it from the car. I'd only recently started doing that. So I'm not actually 100% sure what was causing it. but it's still putting out the right sort of output. So what I'm going to do for safety for the frequency counter is now disconnect it from the frequency counter itself, so I can check the power levels here. So medium power, touch over 5 watts apparently. There's probably some losses in that coax because that coax is RG58. And it's close to 20 watts when you run it at high. Probably better than that in reality. However, I'm using an RG58 cable, which is not really ideal at 77s at all. So it's working, it's just latching on PTT. I don't know whether I've changed a setting somewhere or what I've done, but it's been doing that since before I removed it from the car, and I initially thought it was RF getting into places it shouldn't, so it might not be RF getting into places it shouldn't. So I'm going to try something else. I'm going to attach the dummy load straight into the back of it. Okay, so I've now changed it over so that it's the dummy load straight into the back of the radio. So I'll just wait for that to clear off, and then we'll see if it will actually release the PTT. No, it doesn't. So that is odd. That's not a fault I've ever come across before. I don't know what that's all about. Does cause problems there with me trying to do that. It will let me do that though. So I'm not actually sure what's causing that problem. I'm going to have to investigate that. So it's not RF getting into places it shouldn't apparently, which I initially thought it was. I thought it was a problem with the PTT switch in the car, but apparently it's not. So I don't know what it is then. So let's get rid of the APRS. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into the memory mode. I'm going to connect to my hotspot, which is the very last entry on here. So I've just got to find it when I'm not getting APRS beacons popping up. Back up a bit. It's not the very last item, it's actually the repeater. There we go. So not sure whether it'll actually work or not. Takes a couple of attempts. I can never remember how you do this on here. Go press it a couple of times for the hotspot to latch it sometimes. But it may not latch it because it should work on a dummy load. Yeah, it doesn't want to latch. Hotspot doesn't want to latch, I don't think. It's too far away. I was hoping to do a test with a Fusion. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem as though it's going to happen. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, it doesn't want to happen. Because I think this dummy load isn't radiating as much as it could and the hotspot's too far away. There we go. So we'll cancel that. We'll let that time out. So I can't do a system fusion test because I don't actually have my FT2D to hand, which is a bit annoying. And it's, unless my hotspot's offline, which is entirely possible, but I highly doubt that, so I do have internet connectivity in the house. Just get rid of all of these things on my phone as well while I'm at it, because I got emails about my tyres that I've just had done, and also other emails. Right, so it's working, but it's latching the PTT. That's the main part. Just wanted to know if it was transmitting and receiving. It's receiving fine. The PTT is latching. I don't know what's actually causing that. So I think that's where I'll end the video. So that's my FTM-400 tested. Has a weird latching PTT issue, which I don't know what's causing it. I've not seen anything in the manual that would suggest there's an option for that. But at least it's in the house here, and I have it to hand should I need to do anything like update the firmware. I don't believe there's a firmware update available, but if there is, I shall indeed update the firmware. That would be a good idea. So this is where I'll end the video, and 7.3 for now, and I will catch you in the next one. Bonus extra footage, because we can never have enough bonus extra footage. So I've reset the radio back to factory, and I've backed it back up from the SD card. The only thing I didn't back up was the settings, which I hadn't backed up in a long time, as it turned out, because when it restored the settings from the SD card, it restored it back to my intermediate call sign, which obviously I don't use anymore. But it has, when I find a frequency that isn't GB3IR, because I do not want to key up on that right now. Okay, the up and down buttons on the microphone don't actually work, apparently, in this mode. But that's not a problem. So if I go to where I was, let me just back that up, and I'll use the keypad on the mic if that works. It's gone back into VFO mode for some reason. Oh. Yeah, the buttons on the microphone don't work very well, apparently. So I think there's a problem with the microphone anyway. Here we go. So if I key that up now, watch. It is actually now letting go of the PTT when I let go of the PTT key on here. So all it needed was a factory reset. I should do that more often. You know. But I don't tend to do it more often. But my presets should all be saved as they are if I haven't... No, it actually has restored... Not backed up the presets that I added on, such as my hotspot and the International Space Station repeater. So I'm going to have to re-add those. But that's okay. It's fixed, I just need to reconfigure it. So all it needed was a factory reset. Don't know why I didn't think of that to begin with, but it just came to me while I was thinking, it's going to do that if I upgrade the firmware anyway. So no harm in doing it now. Right, so this time definitely 7.3 for now. Okay, some bonus extra footage. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it happened. So in the end, I decided to do the firmware update anyway, because it's the last firmware available and that brings it up to date. Because this has been in 3 cars and I've not really had a chance to update the firmware all the time because I don't take it out the car very often. This is one of those rare times that I do. So it's all reconnected back up to the meter and everything for the transmit test. Now if I can find the microphone, that would be a good thing to look for here. It's kind of stuck behind here and I've just managed to knock the power off doing that. That's not great. So let's see if we can get the power back on. That's not ideal, can't get the power back on. So power's decided it doesn't want to stay on. Oh, it's on. But the radio's not on. If you know what I mean. Okay, why is that? Oh. There we go. Just the wires have come out the power supply. That's not ideal. So let's give this a try to see what we're doing now. So we've got the meter on the left of your screens. Because I've just updated the firmware, I need to make sure everything's still working alright. So we're on 145,450. Yeah, a healthy and happy 50, close to 50 watts there. So that's good. And we'll change the power levels. Okay, so that's the low power setting. Let's just say shy of 5 watts there. Medium power setting between 10 and 20, so I'm going to hazard a guess that's 15 watts. I always thought it was 25 watts on the middle setting on this, but it's actually 15. Right, so that's all working fine. So we'll go back to the low power setting and I'll reconnect the connection to the frequency counter, which I disconnected earlier. I think that one's actually my oscilloscope. I think the frequency counter's somewhere else. Because I've got two identical leads, one for the frequency counter and one for the scope. I'm just trying to find the one for the scope. There we go, that's the one for the scope. So that's fine, it's going where I want it to go. So now I need to find the one for the frequency counter, which I think is actually this one. So I disconnected this earlier, just to protect the frequency counter in case that overloaded it being on the dummy load at 50 watts. Oop. Being careful with that. There we go. And I'll reconnect that when I find the clip off the end of it, which I did see. Now it's eluded me again. These things do elude me sometimes. Nope, there I can see it. So I'll just put my arm in front of the camera. So I need the red one. Just try not to knock the power off again, because that didn't end well last time. Goes on there. So 145450. What we're looking for on the frequency counter. So let's bring that up into view. So we're now transmitting. And the fan's kicked in on the radio, to be expected. So we've got 145,450,44. I'd say that's on frequency still. So the firmware update hasn't really done anything in that department, which is good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pause while I swap the lead over to the signal generator. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see the display on the signal generator. I think it swamps out a bit. So what I'm going to do first, squelch level set there. I'm going to drop that down. It'll let me do that. Let's try the correct control. It's actually this one. There we go. Turn that down. Let's turn on the signal. That's at negative 770. Let's get my crib sheet. So that's 70 microvolts, 70.9 microvolts apparently, according to my crib sheet. So let's see how low we can hear that down to. We'll press the right button on here. I'm still hearing the tone at 126, negative 126. I'll say it without the negative, which is, according to my crib sheet, 0.112 microvolts. I've just lost it at, where are we? 0.0709 microvolts. I can't hear that with my ears. So I'll bring that back up. I'd say that works all right. Yeah, I'd say that works. So everything's fine. And if my FT2D is now ready, I might be able to do a system fusion test. So I'll go and check to see if that's ready. The FT2D is indeed ready. Might be swamping out the screen a bit there. So let's give that a go. We're on the same frequency. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Saw the squelch out so it doesn't go automatically back into FM mode. Yep. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. I'd say we're okay. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform. Try again. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Sounds like it's working to me. I'll knock up the volume on that again. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It is working. So now I know it's working on receive. Let's try it the other way. Which means I've got to swap this lead round, doesn't it? Otherwise, I'll end up blowing up my signal generator, and I don't want to do that. So I kind of need it. I do have some jobs to finish off. And a piece of equipment I need to finish those jobs off is, at the time of filming this, winging its way now. Got a notification that's been shipped. So hopefully that'll arrive from that part of England where it's coming from very soon. Right, so now it's all connected up back into the dummy load and everything. I'm going to disconnect this. It's on low power, but I'm going to disconnect that clip because I don't need it now. So let's see if it'll receive on the 2D, which I'll try and bring into shot. And I'll put it there in front of the meter. Try and bring that off. And let's try that. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Might want to turn up the volume on that. Let's go back to where I was. Try there. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Very difficult to do, but let's give it another go. Mike 0, Whiskey November uniform testing. Yeah, I say that's successfully working. So it works. So it works after the firmware has been updated. Everything's good. I'm happy. I don't really need to do much more than that. The GPS hasn't worked yet because I'm indoors and it'll take a while to get a fix on that. But we can have a look at that. So it's only seeing one satellite in here. So the GPS is still working, which is good. The only bit of transmitting I've not tried yet is the APRS. So I'm going to set that up and I'll test that next. Right, well that test isn't going to happen because I don't have GPS fixed still, which is a bit annoying. Because every time I try and transmit it, it'll just do that. So, being inside the building, there's going to get no GPS signal. It's going to take an absolute age. And that's not ideal, so I need to come back out this menu, don't I? However, it all seems to be fine. I don't think there's any more issues with it now, hopefully. I've got a backup of everything that I need this time, and I'll do another backup when I change the presets again later on. So I'm definitely off this time, so I've got to put this video together, and I haven't done that yet. So 7-3 for now. Definitely this time.